Good morning and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. I trust that you are well this glorious day. It is a 85-degree morning here in West Central Florida. It's summertime. Summertime. Gotta love it. We are, and we hope that you are well wherever you are. And I know it's still cold places, which is crazy to me because it's May. May, it'll be June soon. And it'll be June soon. It rhymes. But it's going to be a great day. The humidity's not quite up to where it needs to be yet. It needs to be closer to 100% without it raining, but it's going to be great. It's going to be a great day. I hope you had a great day. All you moms out there, I hope you had a great Mother's Day, and hope that every day is Mother's Day and Father's Day for you, all y'all, all y'all. All right, let's get started. A lot of the information that comes out, especially numeric information, statistical information, we should have learned a while ago that a lot of it needs to be taken with not only a grain of salt, but an entire salt lick, a salt mine. Because first of all, you always have to wonder where it's coming from. Anymore, it's funny. I got into a discussion with my neighbor one time about um, numbers, stats that were being reported and purported. And I was like, I don't know if I can accept that source. Just like, and it's funny, he had a problem with that. Like, I didn't accept the source. So if I didn't accept the source, the numbers couldn't be correct. Well, okay. Yeah. But just like when people will say this about me or about my friend Paul Swanson, I'm going to talk about Paul here today. Um, that where you get your numbers, I can't trust you as a source. Okay, fair. But at least you've heard them. So when you finally get all the information that you need and you start, you know, dissecting it and distilling it, and you find out that, we've been right, that should raise our standard for you as a source. People have been talking about this number of Israelis. I mean, how many Gazans have been killed by the Israeli invasion or occupation and all that nonsense. Um, so anyone that's not been blinded by the rabid anti-Israel and pro-Hamas hatred presumed the number of women and children killed in the Gaza Strip since Hamas launched its massacre on October 7th is less than whatever the UN is saying. The UN is not a good source. I imagine at one time they probably were. Maybe. I don't know. The UN's Office of Coordination for Humanitarian Affairs, quite quietly and without an announcement, matching the breathless outrage and coverage of previously reported and literally unbelievable numbers, cut in half the number of women and children it previously claimed were killed in Gaza amid the war. Now, here's the thing. This is one thing I've said about the left. The idea is that if you just say it the first time, and that's the thing that gets out. Now, and people have been saying this about newspapers forever. The retraction is on page 72 underneath the obituaries, this big. The initial headline is this big on the newspaper, right? But the retraction is this big underneath the obituaries on the last page of the newspaper. And this is what the UN Office of Coordination for Humanitarian Affairs has done. Yes, they announced this outrageous number. The more than 14,000 children it said had been killed was revised to 7,800. And the number of women was switched from 9,500 to fewer than 5,000. Yeah, that headline, 14,000 on the front page. Oh, we did some research. It's been about 7,000. Now, 7,000 children being killed, or less than 5,000 women being killed in war is horrendous. Horrendous. That blood is on the hands of Hamas. The substantial reduction, first noted by the Jerusalem Post, debunks those who use the UN OCHA or Hamas numbers to falsely smear Israel in a genocidal regime in their advocacy for Hamas to survive the war started by the bloodthirsty Iranian backed terrorists. Yeah, I mean that's what it's all about. So Matt Whitlock tweeted this. Can we still say tweeted? We're talking about Xing because you can't say he X'd this, or can we? Are we going to start? We're going to start saying he X'd this. So the UN just quietly reduced their estimated number of women and children killed in Gaza by half. The numbers anti-Israel activists have used to accuse Israel of genocide are just made up. Made up. Crazy that you can't count on terrorists for good data. Thanks, Matt. Um, it's it also means the efforts of Israel and IDF forces to limit civilian casualty have been more than successful than even previously known. The IDF's prosecution of the war and in the wake of Hamas's terrorist surprise attack has already been seen by honest observers as a masterclass in urban warfare in challenging conditions. Now, it's also clear to the combatants to civilian ratio is better than most recent wars fought by any nation. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu recently said his government estimates the Gazan death toll to be around 14,000 terrorists and 16,000 civilians. All the blood, all the blood, which is on the hands of Hamas, which would mean a ratio of 1 to 1.14, better than what other militaries, including the United States, have managed, especially so since Hamas supposedly hides its terrorists and weapons inside or under civilian targets. So when you decide that you're going to hide your soldiers and your weapons and your bombs in a hospital or in a school, or in a market someplace. In the sane world, an explanation would be demanded from the UN as to why attempted casualty members from Hamas terrorists under the guise of government media office in Gaza as fact, since it's long been known that Hamas counts combatants as civilian deaths. They do. And grossly inflates the real numbers. And the reason that they inflate the numbers is for the Western press. They understand the Western press better than a lot of people in the West. They know, they know very, very clearly about the large headline in the back and the uselessness of the retraction on page 72. And they use it. They know how CNN works. They know how MSNBC works. They know how the New York Times, the Washington Post, the LA Times, Chicago Sun, they know the Miami Herald. They know how they work. They know how the Western press works. And they use it. And they use it. The source is important. The information is important, but where the information comes from is also important. So, according to a U.S. spokesperson, the sudden and consequential change in the reported numbers of casualties, reminder, all of which are the result of Hamas and its decision to attack on October 7th, remember that, is a result of being in the fog of war, where it's difficult to come up with numbers. We get numbers from different sources on the ground, and then we try to cross-check them. The feeble explanation, they're saying, "Well, we didn't know." That seems to be a recurring theme in the left. David Osniak, senior fellow for the director of research at FDD, said the significant casualty revisions may signal that the UN has finally recognized the lack of evidence behind Hamas's original claims that more than 14,000 children and 9,000 women have been killed in Gaza. If so, the UN should state clearly that it's lost confidence in sources whose credibility it has affirmed for months. While this change may only reflect the conclusion of one UN office out of many operating in Gaza, is clearly a step forward. Maybe. I tell you, I don't like to read comments and stories because comments. But this comment is perfect. It is on point. Busted schmusted. It's not like they care. They don't. They don't have to care. They never have. The credibility is manufactured anew with every coming crisis, courtesy of a lapdog media. What did I tell you? This person right here who wrote this, PA, understands just like I do. Headline, because the lapdog media, they know how. I mean, these people know how our media works. Headline, and then if you have to retract it, if you have to backpedal, you put that crap on page 72 underneath the obituaries. That's how you do that. And it's, frankly, it's been that way for years. It's been that way for years. Every civilian casualty, all their blood is on the hands of Hamas. Every single one. As terrifying and awful as it is. Which makes these college people who are, waving Palestinian flags. And I told you in the previous broadcast, there's no such thing. They're wearing the Yasser, Arafat scarf. You got to wear the clothes, right? You got to wear the right clothes when you go to the protest. You might see a story, and we might run a short on this story of some LGBTQ plus pro Hamas, pro Palestine, pro Hamas, pro Palestine, same thing. Remember that pro Palestine, pro Hamas, same thing. There is no differentiation. Same thing. Who tried to block the exit out of Disney here in Florida. Yeah, it did not go well for them. Not at all. Try that mess in a southern state, or in Florida anyway. And the next story, we're going to get our friend. He's not going to be in right now, but we need to get him in on this because this is happening in his home state, in his territory, and he posted this article on his webpage, paulswanson.com. The article comes from the Federalist. Green Bay's law-bending elections chief is at it again. She's at it again. But this time, City Clerk Celestine Jeffries admits she didn't understand the election law she was breaking. Okay, how's it possible that you don't know you're the city clerk and you don't know you're responsible for the election, but you don't know the election law? and there aren't people in your office, in your chain of command, in your attorneys, all these people who are put in place. Green Bay, a small city, but it's not Sparta. It's not Sparta. It's not Dover, Florida. Dover is about as big as the studio. Green Bay, they've got an NFL franchise. That there wasn't somebody who said, "Hey, listen, we got somebody in the office says, hey, this is the stuff we have to do." But in response to a complaint filed by the Public Interest Legal Foundation, or PILF, on behalf of three Green Bay citizens, Jeffries concedes that she had not been strictly adhering to the statutory requirements in the Wisconsin statutes, but the failure to do so was inadvertent and due to a lack of awareness of the statutory requirements. Now, I'm tooling down I-10 at 120 miles an hour. I get pulled over by the Florida State Trooper, and he says, "What were you doing?" And I said, I don't know why you stopped me. You were going 120 miles an hour." Well, I'm sorry, I didn't know that you couldn't, because I hadn't seen a speed, I hadn't seen the speed limit sign. I didn't know that was. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Yeah, yeah, that's gonna work. So, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Do we know that? Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So, in short, the much troubled clerk was ignorant, not willful, according to the legal response. Ignorance of the law is no excuse, except if you're on the left, except if you're this woman or you're Hillary Clinton. They didn't mean to. It's more the same from Jeffries, who was the former chief of staff for Green Bay's far left mayor in a city that made national news during the Zuckerberg scandal of 2020 and turned punitive when his bumbling clerk previously twisted the state election law. Now, the law, last month, PILF filed a complaint with the Wisconsin Election Commission, alleging that Jeffries ignored laws aiming at detecting abuse of the Badger State's same-day registration process. Okay, now, first of all, we have said for years this is a stupid, dumbass thing to do. That means that you can register and vote on the same day. So you get, let's say in a smaller town, you recruit, I don't know, 1,000 homeless people, and you drive them from polling place to polling place, registering and voting using false addresses every single time, registering and voting, registering and voting. Now, what's supposed to stop them is that I'll read the law to you. Here's what's supposed to happen. Wisconsin is one of the 20 states and the District of Columbia, dumbasses, that offers election day registration, according to the National Conference of State Legislators. The law is clear, though. The Election Commission, after each election, is required to mail postcards to voters who registered on election day as part of its post-election audit demanded under state statute. Undelivered postcards are sent back to the state to the clerk's office of the city of origin. According to the law, for any postcard that is returned undeliverable, or if the clerk is informed that the voter resides at a different address than the one provided on election day, the election official must change the status of the voter from eligible to ineligible on the registration list. Then the official must mail the voter a notice of the change and provide the name of the elector to the district attorney for the county where the polling place is located and the election commission. In February of 2023, the Wisconsin Election Commission updated guidance regarding the handling and processing of election day registration postcards returned to the clerk's office after an election. confirming the requirements are mandatory. Jeffrey failed to do this part of her job at every turn, according to the complaint. Now, what's supposed to happen is that if you go in and register and vote on the same day, which is stupid, because you could do that at a number of polling places, right? You could even put the correct information, and they send a card or many cards, or none in this particular case, because what happened was that when it found out that some of these cards were undeliverable, this woman inactivated 0 cards, 0 votes. Here we go. Pilf's lawsuit noted that Green Bay reported 3,497 election day registrations in the hotly contested 2020 presidential election, in which Democrat candidate Joe Biden narrowly defeated then President Donald Trump in the battleground Badger State. Of those, 170 were returned undeliverable to the clerk's office. Wisconsin Election Commission's election day registration report found Green Bay election officials inactivated 0 registrants and referred 0 registrants to the district attorney. They got the cards back, and they went, huh, 0. They did not obey the law. Now you may say 170, Willie, why are you crying about 170 votes? Because it's not that. It's not the 170 in Green Bay. It's 170 in Green Bay. The 170 here. It's 100. It's a 200 here. It's a 300 here. You can see death by 1,000 cuts. That's the deal. And then simply say later, I didn't know. Well, if you didn't know, now we're talking about malfeasance. Aren't we talking about that? And you should at least be removed from that position, at least, if not thrown in jail for, aiding and abetting an election fraud. Right? What do you think? What do you think about all this? Write it in the comments. Again, my name is Willie Lawson. This has been The Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.